Today, we're jumping into a really powerful idea from Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth. It's something he says is the root of pretty much all human suffering, but it's also the key to our awakening. We are talking about the ego.
You know, this quote is really where it all started for Tolle. It wasn't just some clever thought. It came out of this moment of complete personal crisis. He was so overwhelmed with anxiety, he literally felt like he couldn't live with himself anymore. And then, bam, this insight just struck him. If I can't live with myself, then there must be two of me. That single question just blew open the whole illusion, revealing this fundamental split in our minds, the one between who we truly are and that mind-made self we call the ego.
So here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we're going to pinpoint that non-stop voice in the head. Then, we'll uncover the ego's favorite little tricks, see how it makes us get lost in our roles, and how it teams up with our old emotional pain. And finally, the most important part, we'll explore the way out, the incredible power of just being aware.
Okay, so let's start with that voice. I mean, have you ever really stopped and just listened to the chatter that's going on inside your own head? There's this constant narrator, right? It's always judging, worrying, complaining, remembering. Well, that's it. That's the voice of the ego. This is what Tolle means by ego, and this is so important. He's not talking about arrogance or having a big ego like we usually say. No, this is way deeper. The ego is that false sense of I that's created by this constant, unobserved stream of thinking and all the emotions that come with it. It's the thinker in your head that you mistakenly believe is you. So how does this false self even build its identity? Well, it just latches onto things. It's like a collector. It grabs your memories and weaves them into my personal story. It takes your job and turns it into I am a doctor. It clings to your stuff, your opinions, your beliefs, and oh, it especially loves your grievances. It uses all of these as building blocks to create this conceptual self that has to constantly define and defend itself. To really get a handle on the ego, you have to look at its playbook, its daily operations. It has this whole toolkit of strategies to make itself stronger, and a lot of them are so common, we don't even realize we're doing it. Okay, check this out. Think about the tiny but huge difference between just stating a fact and actually complaining. This soup is cold. It's just an observation. It's neutral. But complaining, I can't believe they served me cold soup, that creates a story. It invents a me who has been personally wronged, which makes the ego feel important and superior. Complaining is one of the ego's absolute favorite snacks.
And that brings us to one of the ego's biggest drivers, that powerful, sometimes overwhelming need to be right. I mean, think about it. For you to be right, somebody else or some situation has to be wrong. And that instantly creates separation, it creates conflict. It sets up this me versus them dynamic, which is the very foundation the ego builds its whole flimsy identity on. It defines itself against other people.
There's this amazing Zen story that just nails this point. So, two monks see a woman who can't cross a muddy road. The first monk just picks her up and carries her across. Simple. Hours later, the second monk is still fuming, just stewing in it. He says, "We monks aren't supposed to touch women. How could you do that?" And the first monk just calmly replies, "I put her down hours ago. Are you still carrying her?" He was still carrying it all mentally, the grievance, the judgment, the story. He was feeding his ego by keeping the past alive. Now, the ego doesn't just cling to thoughts and old stories. It also loves to define itself through the roles we play in life. And it's so good at it that we often mistake the role for who we actually are. You see, there's a world of difference between having a function and identifying with a role. Taking care of your child is a function, but becoming a mother as your main identity, that's a role. When that function gets turned into a rigid mental concept, your behavior starts being controlled by what you think a mother should do, instead of just responding to the actual moment. And this applies to everything, from being a doctor to even identifying with the role of a victim. And when you're lost in your role and the other person is lost in theirs, any real human connection is basically impossible. You've got the doctor role interacting with the patient role, the mother role interacting with the child role. The whole thing is based on these mental images, not on two authentic people actually being present with each other. This is where so much conflict comes from, and it's why so many relationships just feel off. All right, now we get to the ego's best friend, its partner in crime. It's a concept Tolle calls the pain body. And what it is the accumulation of all the emotional pain from our past that we never fully faced and let go of. Basically, the pain body is like this negative energy field living inside of us. It's made up of all that old, unresolved emotional gunk from our entire lives. Most of the time, it's dormant, it's just sleeping. But every now and then, it wakes up. And when it wakes up, it has one simple goal. It wants to eat. And it feeds on more pain, because that's what it's made of. So the ego and the pain body have this, well, it's a parasitic relationship. When the pain body gets triggered and wakes up, the ego just jumps on for the ride. It uses all that intense emotional energy to fuel negative thinking, to start arguments, to create drama. All that drama creates more emotional pain, which then feeds the pain body. And the intense identification with it all, I am so miserable, that strengthens the ego. It's a vicious cycle where they keep each other alive. Okay, so after hearing all that, I know it can sound pretty bleak. We've got the ego with its tricks, its roles, and its partnership with the pain body. So is there a way out? Well, according to Toll, the solution isn't to fight the ego. It's to do something much, much simpler and way more powerful. Let's just start with the most basic truth we've talked about. Just notice it right now. There's a compulsive stream of thought, a voice, just moving through your mind. You don't have to do a thing about it. Just acknowledge it. Yep, it's there. And right here, this is the great liberation. The second you notice the voice, you've created a separation. There's the thought, and then there is the one who is noticing the thought. That realization that you are not the thought, but the awareness behind it, that is the beginning of real freedom. Your true identity is not the content of your mind, not the thoughts, not the emotions, not the stories. Your real identity is the consciousness in which all of that stuff appears. You're the silent watcher. You're the space. You are the awareness that is hearing the voice. This awareness, this is the whole key. And it isn't something you have to go out and create. It's the background of stillness that is always, always here behind all the mental noise. The whole practice is just about shifting your attention back to it. So, what does this actually look like in real life? It's a pretty simple 3-step process. First, you just observe. You notice what's happening inside you. A thought pops up, an emotion comes along. You just see it. Second, you recognize it's not actually you. It's just an old mental pattern, a conditioned reflex. And third, you accept it. You let it be there without fighting it or judging it. See, the ego cannot survive in the light of your awareness. It thrives in unconsciousness. Your observation is like sunlight to a vampire. It just dissolves. Tolle uses this beautiful, simple analogy. After ducks get into a little squabble, they'll flap their wings really hard a few times to shake off all that pent-up energy, and then they just go back to floating peacefully, like nothing ever happened. They don't sit there building a whole mental story about how they were wronged. And we can learn to do the same, to shake off the mental and emotional drama and just come back to the peace of right now. And this all leads to the ultimate shift in how you see the world. The ego thinks happiness depends on what happens on the outside. But real freedom comes when you realize that your peace depends entirely on your inner state. It's about taking responsibility for your inner space, right here and now, no matter what's going on around you. And that brings us to the final and really the most important question. If you let go of your past, your roles, your opinions, your resentments, if you let go of that whole story of me that the voice in your head is constantly telling you, who are you then? Who is left when the story is gone? That is the discovery this whole journey is inviting you to make for yourself.